Hello everyone, Lumini here. Yeah, just don't mind the neighbors. Anyways, I figured I'd just go ahead and record this because sometimes what I like to do in my free time is just to kind of write up some scripts that I often have in my head, but generally I end up don't following through with recording these scripts. Usually because either A, I'm too lazy to actually get the recording software out on the computer and start recording it. And B, I try to perfect it too much with the audio and I'm not satisfied with it. And then C, I just would rather spend my time doing runs. But with that being said, this is a little thought piece that I had as I was thinking about the No Qurio rule set. And me personally, I find that the No Qurio rule set is an overall good push for the Monster Hunter speedrun community. And the reasons why that it is a kind of a good move is that A, it does lower the impact that modding has on the scene. Obviously, there's no secret at all that a lot of the IL runs have some form of modification to it, whether it is for a max value charm or for a optimal spawn to happen 100% of the time, or even just for the set HP to happen 100% of the time. But at the same time, there are those people who want to run the game unmodded, whether that they're using a Switch, in which case I'll admit I'm a bit of a monkey when it comes to modding shit. So I'll never attempt to mod my Switch because I don't want to risk bricking it. But not only that, but there are also people that who choose to not mod their games, whether it's for a cultural reason or maybe a moralistic reason, or maybe just, yeah, they're like me. They don't want to deal with the hassle of a mod breaking every single time an update comes out. But let's see what I have here. But otherwise, whatever reason that a person chooses to not mod, I think it should be respected. I mean, after all, there's nothing wrong with wanting to run the game in its vanilla format. But not only that, but if you also kind of think about it on this sense, if the public knows that you are known for not running the game with any mods, that it ends up building a reputation and a sort of, I guess, trust with that general audience that you tend to garner, and that you wouldn't ever hopefully do anything fishy. So it just kind of aids to your credibility on that front. And granted, unfortunately, PC runners will just always be held under a tighter microscope just due to the ease of access of mods. But that being said, let's see what I have here. Then there are those who are unable to utilize mods. Okay, yeah, I already talked about that with Switch. So, just very briefly, let's also talk about what do the mods do for the PC scene. So first of all, the big thing is that it lowers the amount of time that you spend resetting for your optimal run. The biggest factor for this one for sure would have to be your spawns. You have 3 set spawns in Monster Hunter Rise: your A spawn, B spawn, and C spawn. And in which case, for the majority of your quests, your A spawn will have a 60% or a 50% chance of spawning the monster. The B spawn will always have a 30% chance of spawning the monster. And then the C spawn will usually have a 20% chance, but more than likely will have a 10% chance of having the monster spawn there. What's often pretty unfortunate is that a good portion of the time, the C spawn is the one that's actually the most optimal. So for those who choose to not use mods, or for those that are on Nintendo Switch, if you wanted to try and have a competitive run against others who end up having a really good run on the C spawn, you are probably going to be resetting a good 9 times out of 10. If you're kind of lucky-ish, At worst, then it's going to be a little while before you see it at C spawn again. However, on PC, you can have the set spawn mod to where you can just get to that 10% spawn 100% of the time, saving you loads of time for your practice and your efforts. And with that time saved, obviously, then you're going to be able to improve your runs significantly faster. And as for being able to prove whether or not you used a used a mod for the run, honestly, you can't, because generally, the speedruns for Monster Hunter, especially on the quest-by-quest basis, the spawns, or how should I say it, we only do the videos from the very, very start of the quest to the very end, so you don't usually see all the attempts in between. Now, the other thing can be said for HP rolls as well. With HP rolls, generally for people on Switch or for people who use unmodded runs, then you're going to be eating for Feline Weakener, which ends up taking up a slot for your food skills that could have been used for something else. Like, for example, for a weapon that's a little bit more taxed or pressed for dongo skills and such, eating for Weakener means that you'll probably either have to give up a big boost in Booster, or you have to give up a big boost in the Bombardier one. However, if you know for sure that you can set the monster to its lowest HP legal limit, then you never have to eat for Weakener, and you can always eat for the largest damage boosting Dongo. And then not only that, but also God Charms as well can make and break whether or not certain armors and certain strategies can be used. And I think the biggest ones for that is, like, for example, whether or not you can very effectively utilize Master's Touch on a set, or if you wanted to utilize Hellfire Blight on a monster, then obviously you have to give up at least a minimum of 2 slots, 1 level 4 or 1 level 3, or 3 level 3 slots, unfortunately, or you just kind of like shoot yourself in the kneecaps and use a kind of mediocre Hellfire Charm, or use some of the Magnum Olive sets. In which case, that's not always the best idea. But if you had a really, really good charm that could support that, like let's just say, for example, one God Charm that I did have on PC when I used to run base Rise on PC. Attack boost 3 with Hellfire 2, then all I had to do was just slot in that level 3 in the level 3 slot, and then bam, I had my Hellfire that I needed for the run. On Switch, that's much harder to utilize, unfortunately. Now, and of course, I have been on record to say that I don't believe that the God Charms tend to make and break the runs, but I will admit that as of right now, of writing this for Sunbreak, charms are a bit more powerful just because you do have skills that don't necessarily have a level 4 slot, or they don't have a charm yet. Like, for example, the attack and expert gems don't have level 4s yet, and you don't have a gem yet for Foray. And so in which case, on those aspects, charms can be a bit more powerful. But that being said, though, the one thing that I will have to say that really broke the camel's back on this one would have to be the Curious Armor. This is the RNG system that broke the camel's back. Some people thought that Charm RNG was pretty bad. However, when you multiply that by 5, with the ability to add skills that you don't necessarily need and remove skills that you want, the chances of getting your maximum value armor is significantly decreased to the point... Sorry, some kids in the neighborhood. But it's been significantly decreased to the point to where I think some dudes have mathed out to where if you wanted the full set of armor that you'll usually see in some PC speedruns with the Curious stuff, your chances are around 1 in quadrillion or so. So if you're playing on Switch, or if you never plan on modding your game, then yeah, you're never going to see that. And then, even though the leaderboards in general have kind of devised to some way to like calculate what is legal and what isn't legal. The rules for that is kind of still being worked out every single day as for what is and what isn't. And not only that, but who knows what Title Update 2 is going to bring. Could break the whole system for all we know. And so that's just its own big mess altogether. So, and I guess if you wanted to compete currently, especially on the freestyle scene, then you either mod in your Curious Armor to questionable limits, or you don't mod it in and you end up eating a time loss of I want to say anywhere between 10 to 30 seconds, especially depending on the monster lineup and your weapon. So, all these factors stated here have contributed to runners quitting, because I don't know if you've noticed, but quite a lot of your local speedrunners for the IL scene have not felt the motivation to actually continue to run because of these systems. So, in the hopes to breathe life back into the scene, people like HCZS and several members of the speedrunning community, and of course with feedback from other speedrunners and the public as well, has drafted up a rule set known as the No Qurio Ruleset. One second. I lost my page. Yeah, this is as authentic as y'all guys are getting. But yeah, it's the No Qurio Ruleset. Oh, here it is. Yeah, the name is slightly misleading because I guess if you're a more casual viewer, you see No Qurio, you think that means no dereliction. Dereliction's still allowed, however, it's in reference to the Qurio armor system. So let me just quickly go over the rules. So the first rule is that no Qurio armor augments are allowed. So you just got to use your basic armor. Secondly, charms can only have up to 3 innate skills. This is to kind of lower the god charm complaint that we all kind of have underneath our breaths, where it's like, oh man, this shit's only possible because that guy's got a god charm. Well, none of that bullshit. And especially for your casual audience who are hoping to get into speedrunning, now they don't have to do or talk themselves into the bullshit of saying, oh, I need this god charm to do good. Because there have been plenty of runs with the No Qurio rule set already that show that, yeah, you definitely don't need a god charm. Like, you can use your average 3 skill charm with any number of slots. But for the most part, the reasoning behind that one is that it'll help ease the RNG needed to actually get into the more competitive times. Next one is all players must eat for Dongo Weakener level 4. Now, I know that you can always just have your mod in for always having 100% HP roll, but it kind of lessens the effect of the fact that using the mod would just give you a free Dongo skill. In this rule set, that is no longer the case because it aims to keep everyone kind of on the same spot. Next one is Spawn C is illegal. Now, obviously, again, with modding, you can just use your 100% set spawn and give yourself 100% of the time on Spawn B. However, typically the differences between Spawn A and Spawn B tend to be a couple of seconds, so they're much less of a deal breaker and they tend to be a lot more tolerable than having to try and get your 10% roll. But yeah, aside from alleviating the strain runners feel from the RNG in the game, the second purpose of the rule set is to help with the help mitigate harassment speedrunners get from the public about modding their game, because it's honestly pretty demoralizing for a runner to put in a lot of hard work into their runs, and then you have that one guy or one or two guys that kind of dismiss all your hard work just because you modded the game in. And granted, yeah, we just laugh about it and shrug it off, but it's just those little things where it kind of builds up over time to where eventually it just kind of breaks you. Or not only that, but the other problem that I see with it is that um, I maybe it's just my little corner of the world, but I feel like that this sort of mindset has been growing a little bit, which can serve to be a problem when you have a growing number of the public thinking that more and more PC runs are cheated more than what they actually are. Let me reword that. They're modded more. Alright, sorry about that. Ran out of space on my phone, so anyways, to kind of wrap this up, it's to help mitigate the harassment that PC speedrunners get from people who think that just because they are using mods that they are cheating, or that because they are using mods and they are also cheating the game in some other way that is unknown to that particular person. And while it is like that one random dude every once in a while, and we just normally kind of just shrug it off, laugh it off, it starts to become a problem when there is a growing populace that begins to believe that every other PC run is cheated in some capacity. Let me see. But yeah, that's kind of all I have in terms of this topic. Well, yeah, overall, too long, didn't watch, you skipped to the end. I think that No Qurio Ruleset is a good move for the freestyle community, especially in terms of alleviating some of the tensions brought about with the curious crafting. Now, that being said, if you want to just kind of casually run and use your curious armor, yeah, feel free, go ahead. I mean, the system's there for you, and I think, me personally, I think that as intended, it's probably meant to help mitigate some of the RNG from charms, as well as being able to boost you up just a little bit more. But that's how I personally see it. Don't quote me on that. And who knows what could change in the future. Well, I hope y'all guys enjoyed listening, and I hope y'all guys have a good day today. I'll see y'all later. Let's get old.